Cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic. People, this the intro.
Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
The Chicago Bears make a massive move ahead of the NFL trade deadline to add edge rusher Montez Sweat from the Washington Commanders. The Chicago Bears traded their 2024 second-round pick, which is currently the 35th overall pick, to Washington for edge rusher Montez Sweat. Along with giving up the pick, the Bears will also have to negotiate a long-term deal since Montez Sweat is in his final year of his deal. But Bears fans, before I talk a little bit more about Montez Sweat to the Chicago Bears, I kind of want to get something off my chest. Obviously, the Chicago Bears granted Jaylen Johnson a right to seek a trade partner ahead of the NFL trade deadline today. Obviously, nothing materialized, and Jaylen Johnson is still a Chicago Bear. And for the most part, I am really happy about that because I feel like Jaylen Johnson has been playing his best football of his career this season for the Chicago Bears. And I think with the addition of Montez Sweat, I think Jaylen Johnson will have some more opportunities to be a really good football player for the Chicago Bears defense. But first things first, I don't know how much Jaylen Johnson is actually asking for. If he wants north of $20 million per year, Jaylen Johnson is not going to get that type of money. I think Jaylen Johnson is worth anywhere from $14 to $16 million a year. I think when Jaylen Johnson is healthy, and that's key word, healthy, when he's actually available and on the field for the Chicago Bears defense, Jaylen Johnson is a really good football player. I wouldn't put him in that category of being a great football player for the Chicago Bears, but Jaylen Johnson is a very good player for the Chicago Bears when healthy. He's only 24 years old. I would consider him a building block in this rebuild for the Chicago Bears. And overall, he's a true leader for the Chicago Bears defense. And everyone in this locker room respects the hell out of Jaylen Johnson. But at the end of the day, if Jaylen Johnson is asking for $20 million a year or north of $20 million a year, I don't blame Ryan Poles for not wanting to pay Jaylen Johnson that contract. After Jaylen Johnson was unable to find a trade partner before the NFL trade deadline, Jaylen Johnson already has come out and said that he is going to put the contract extension to bed for the rest of the season. He's going to be a true professional and then re-engage in contract talks with the Chicago Bears at season's end. And personally, if Ryan Poles doesn't come up with a contract extension after the season for Jaylen Johnson, that is going to be a total letdown because obviously there was some huge interest for Jaylen Johnson at the NFL trade deadline today. The 49ers showed interest, the Buffalo Bills showed interest, the Pittsburgh Steelers showed interest among teams. So there was definitely a lot of interest and things were definitely heating up at the end of the NFL trade deadline. But overall, nothing materialized, and Jaylen Johnson is still a Chicago Bear. But overall, I am happy that Ryan Poles is sticking to his guns because obviously Jaylen Johnson is not worth $20 million a year. But I would be willing to give Jaylen Johnson $14 to $16 million a year. I do want Jaylen Johnson to be a Chicago Bear long term. Once again, he's only 24 years old. He's having a hell of a season for the Chicago Bears defense this year. He is a true leader that everyone respects in the locker room, and Ryan Poles should consider Jaylen Johnson a true building block for this rebuild that he's doing here in Chicago. Now moving back to the addition of edge rusher Montez Sweat, and Chicago Bears fans, I absolutely love this move by Ryan Poles. To me, when I look at a guy like Montez Sweat, this is a long-term play for the Chicago Bears. Obviously, as it stands, Chicago Bears are 2-6 after the first 8 games of the NFL season. So basically, the Chicago Bears playoff hopes are very, very slim. But when I look at the long-term play, Montez Sweat is only 27 years old. I think he still has a whole lot of value. This is a guy that definitely gets after the quarterback. But like I said at the beginning of this podcast, Chicago Bears gave up their second round pick, which is currently 35th overall, which is great compensation for the Washington Commanders. Now looking how it stands, the Bears' remaining 2024 draft capital is 2 first-round picks, which includes the one from the Carolina Panthers, a third-round pick, 2 fourths, which one of them includes the one from the Philadelphia Eagles, and a 5th-round pick. So now the Chicago Bears have 6 total draft picks in the upcoming 2024 NFL draft. So obviously, I think Ryan Poles will definitely look to possibly trade back from one of those first-round picks and recoup some draft capital. But overall, I am totally okay with the compensation of giving up our second-round pick to bring a true game-changing pass rusher that we were missing on the Chicago Bears defense in edge rusher Montez Sweat. In terms of Montez Sweat, I do want to get something off my chest and just address the elephant in the room. Obviously, there was a lot of Bears fans, including myself, that were also interested in edge rusher Chase Young. Obviously, Chase Young was traded to the San Francisco 49ers for a third-round pick, and there was a lot of uproar from Bears Nation saying that, well, why didn't we just trade for Chase Young if he was worth a 3rd round pick? But I want to share a tweet from Jacob Infante because he basically shares the same viewpoints that I had on this stance of Montez Sweat versus Chase Young. And he says this: the Bears inquired about Chase Young, but ultimately chose to pursue Montez Sweat via trade instead. Sweat has been much more reliable and healthy to this point, so I'm fine with paying more for him. Chicago needs proven stars, and Sweat fits that bill more than Young. And I absolutely agree. When you look at Chase Young, yes, he is 24. And when you look at Montez Sweat, yes, he is 27. So obviously, Chase Young is the younger product, probably with the higher ceiling. But I think the Chicago Bears weren't able to take that risk in Chase Young. And that's one of the reasons why the San Francisco 49ers were able to take that risk on Chase Young, because the 49ers are built to win right now. The Chicago Bears aren't built to win right now. So when you look at the long-term play here, Montez Sweat makes more sense for the Chicago Bears because, one, he's reliable, he's durable, he has played more games, and he's been better than Chase Young because he is more durable than Chase Young. That's not saying Chase Young's not a great player. I would love to have Chase Young on the Chicago Bears, but when you're looking at long-term, Montez Sweat is less of a risk than Chase Young. But when you look at a guy like Montez Sweat, he has been excellent ever since he's entered the NFL for the Washington Commanders. And this is a guy that just has been consistent. He plays consistent football. He's able to get after the quarterback consistently. And when you look at the Chicago Bears defense, especially this season, or especially the last couple of seasons, that's something that the Bears defensive line has been unable to do at a consistent level, and that's get after the quarterback. When you look at the Chicago Bears have 10 sacks through 8 games this season. That's last in the league. They were also the worst in the league last year with 20 sacks. So we definitely needed to see more consistency in terms of pass rush, being able to get after the quarterback, and that is something that Montez Sweat does at a consistent level. So I'm really happy that Ryan Poles pulled the trigger on Montez Sweat. Another thing I really love about this move, Bears fans, is bringing Montez Sweat to Chicago. It feels a major need for the Chicago Bears going into this next offseason. Obviously, the Chicago Bears still have $110 million in cap space. We have 2 first-round picks, but instead of spending one of those first-round picks on a pass rusher in the NFL draft, we already filled that void with Montez Sweat, and now you can focus on other things, maybe like a left tackle, maybe another wide receiver if you choose to go get another quarterback. Now you don't have to focus on a premium position at the edge rusher position, because now you addressed it with Montez Sweat. And when I look at the combination between Montez Sweat and guys like Unique Ngakwe, I think that's going to be a beautiful combination for the Chicago Bears defensive line, because now that's going to open up more pass rushing lanes for guys like Unique Ngakwe, DeMarcus Walker, Justin Jones as well. So Montez Sweat is going to make everyone on the defensive line better. So I think it's going to be a beautiful situation, Montez Sweat in Chicago. So overall, Bears fans, Montez Sweat is a game-changing pass rusher for the Chicago Bears, and he's definitely a major upgrade that the Chicago Bears defensive line desperately needed. This is a guy that's going to get consistent pressure on the quarterback. He has been consistent, and he's going to bring that consistency to Chicago. So kudos to Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears for getting this done. And even though some people think it's a hefty cost, giving up a second-round pick that's currently 35th overall selection in next year's draft, I absolutely love this move by Ryan Poles. Montez Sweat will definitely be worth the cost for the Chicago Bears. And just remember, Bears fans, this is a long-term play for Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears. So before I let you guys go, let me ask you guys this. What grade do you give this move by Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears? Let me know down below in the comment section. But before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. Make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. Better than that, be back for all new Bears podcasts right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You've been listening to Geek on the Mic, a podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Thanks, guys, and bear down.